Here today were it not for the vision and generosity of our next speaker, a business leader of uncommon acumen, an active member of the Charlottesville community, a generous supporter of his alma mater, the University of Virginia, a loving son, husband, father, and, of course, a rabid lacrosse fan. I speak of no other than the man whose generosity enables us to turn the earth today and to launch the Brody Jewish Center. Dan Brody.
Okay, I'm going to go home and I'm just going to be, the husband does what his wife tells him to do. And I do what she tells me to do. It was only 37 months ago that many of you were at Newcomb Hall when Brian Cohen announced the Brody Jewish Center. At that time, I explained the long history of my family with the University of Virginia. As you heard earlier from President Castine, there are 4 generations of my family that have diplomas from this great institution. And I'm happy to tell you that in August, my older son will be back in Charlottesville to go to the Darden School, and his mother and I are very excited about that. So, given this long history with this institution, it felt wonderful for Nan and me to be able to make a naming gift to Hillel. Fortunate enough to be in a position to do it, fortunate enough to have an institution and a place at that institution that was that important to the two of us. So, while I'm getting all the accolades, be clear, this was not my decision. This was our decision. And not only is my wife one of those cogs in the wheel, but there are many others, some of whom I have time to talk about today. For those of you who I don't have time to mention, you all know what you've done, and we thank you. First, I want to mention Rob Capon. It was Rob who moved back to Charlottesville and got involved with Hillel, who realized, despite all the efforts of earlier board members and earlier directors to keep this institution alive, it was struggling. Because, it was not only that we could fail, it's not too much to say we might have failed if it had not been for Rob. But with his patent energy and optimism, he energized the board, he energized this organization, he raised funds, and he brought financial discipline. More importantly, Rob dared to dream that Hillel could not only survive, but it could prosper. So, to you, Rob, thank you, because without your earlier efforts and the efforts of really all those board members and directors who precede all of us, we wouldn't be here without those efforts. But Rob's dreams needed someone to make them happen, and that person was Brian Cohen. We all know Brian, we know what a great guy he is, so bear with me as I just give him more compliments. He's been our director since 2004, and his impact was immediate and to me almost incomprehensible in the magnitude of it. Brian took an organization that had been more or less moribund for half a century and turned it into a meaningful part of college life for several hundred students. When my older son, Buck, went on birthright, he was the only UVA student. And when my younger son, Doug, went on birthright only 3 years later, there were busloads. Brian transformed Hillel at UVA. And it is that transformation that makes this groundbreaking necessary. As you know, Brian is leaving us so that he and Lisa and the baby, Sheena, can be closer to their families in New York and New Jersey. We will miss Brian, as you all know, and we regret that he will not be here to watch this building go up and to watch his students use the building. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about. But as was noted earlier, he's going to Hillel in New York. Brian, you have a job to do. We are that baby that Larry mentioned. Speaking of development, is a natural segue to thank a major cog in the wheel, Edgar Brofman and Jan Aronson. Edgar Brofman stands alone as the most thoughtful, deliberate, generous, and effective Jewish philanthropist of this time. Edgar's gift to our campaign is important not only for its generosity, but the instant credibility it gave to our project. Edgar has been generous in hosting a lunch in New York, in his New York offices, and Edgar, despite the lower building costs, please plan some more luncheons, because we're not finished raising money yet. My next cog on my project building wheel is more like an axle at the University of Virginia, and that is, of course, President John Castine. President Castine's commitment to a diverse university community is well known, and his presence here today with his wife Betsy and Special Assistant Gordon Burris and his wife Margie is indicative of the support the university has given us, and we thank you. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our chairman, today's MC, Larry Zippin. As you can see, he's funny, he's well-spoken, and he's fun to work with. He's been energetic, and he's involved in every detail of the organization. He's essentially a full-time employee, unpaid. And we could not get this job done if Larry wasn't here helping us. He's not so much a cog. He's the guy with the grease running around, putting on the axle so the wagon keeps turning. I also want to thank my building committee, Ab Posner, Ed Brownfield, and super member Jay Levine, whose knowledge and experience is invaluable. And our architects, Mark Humison and Bruce Wardell, who have been particularly skillful shepherding the project through the layers of government bureaucracy. There are cases where one department of City Hall has rules and regulations in direct conflict to another. And negotiating that stuff is not easy, and our architects have done it masterfully. Lastly, I want to thank my wife Nan for her patience and support, whether it is fundraising trips to New York, answering emails late at night, or simply boring her with the details of a meeting with the Board of Architectural Review. Nan has appreciated that this is the moment. Either the building was going to be built now, or it might not get built for another generation. And that brings me to my close. Today is a happy occasion, even a joyous occasion. We will turn dirt for a new building, and we will turn a new page for Jewish student life at the University of Virginia. After many years of losing talented Jewish students to other universities, and after years of asking our Jewish students who overlooked substandard facilities, this day represents a commitment to provide these great students with the great facilities they deserve. Yet I would be remiss if I did not tell you that we must raise more money in order to make this building everything it can and should be. We must raise money to remodel and repair this wonderful building that's been our home since Larry said 49? Okay. I thought it was 41. I stand corrected. And we must raise money to make sure we can heat our center, cool our center, and clean our center. So please tell your family and friends about the renaissance of Jewish student life at UVA. Tell them about the 150 students that come to Shabbat dinners. Tell them about the leading participation in Birthright Israel. Tell them that the Jewish studies courses grow in popularity every year. Ask them to support Jewish life so that we may start here today, but what we start here today can be nurtured and developed into the finest college experience for Jewish students in the United States. After all, shouldn't Mr. Jefferson's University, the first university in the New World with a library, and not the chapel, was given the most prominent place on campus, whose founder wrote the Articles for Religious Freedom, codifying religious tolerance? Shouldn't that be the university where talented Jewish students want to matriculate? Obviously, Nan and I believe that UVA can be such a place. And by your attendance here today, I know you agree. So thank you for coming, and thank you for your support. And please let everybody know great things are happening at 41 University Circle. Thank you.